Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Matthew Dale here, and as many of you know, I'm here to help you play better, sound great, and understand more. And with that in mind, I wanted to ask you all just a couple of questions to get into this video. So how many of you guitar players out there have ever learned a guitar solo? Raise your hand. I'm sure a lot of you are raising your hand right now. Generally, when we pick up the guitar and learn the guitar, we want to emulate our heroes shredding a guitar solo somewhere, be it on a record or live or on TV or, wherever you might see your guitar hero shredding an awesome solo. Now, for the next question, just open your mind a little bit and really be honest with yourself here. How many of you guitar players that have learned guitar solos are aware of how many measures the guitar solo is? And what are the chords? What's the chord progression going on behind that guitar solo? Really think about that and really be honest with yourself. Now, if we were all in a room, if this was like a clinic or a seminar type setup, I'm sure a lot of hands would have gone up on that first question, and then a lot of hands, not all of them probably, but a lot of those hands would probably have dropped down with me asking that question in like a live room environment. And that's really because in our current ecosystem of learning guitar, we use the internet all the time as a wonderful resource, but not always a complete resource. Or we might even be watching tutorial videos where, because of the nature of a tool like YouTube, we, meaning me, like guitar teachers, really need to get into the crux of the content, which is like, let's get in and learn these notes of the solo so that we can have a much shorter video and have higher click-through rates and all that stuff. But if we really want to become better musicians and better guitar players and be better at creating our own solos, it is super important to understand those two things. How many measures do I have, and what are the chords that I'm soloing on top of? It always actually doesn't come down to just what key am I in. So let's use a Beatles song as an example here. Let's use Get Back. And the main chordal idea, the main chord progression idea of Get Back is this: 2 measures of A, and then a measure of D, and then back to a measure of A. So 2 measures of A measure of D, and then another measure of A. And what we hear John Lennon do on top of this for the guitar solos, now, let's see if there's any sort of linkage there between those two ideas. They're not always as mutually exclusive as you might think. So what John Lennon does is he starts live playing in A major pentatonic. That phrase that covers 2 of those measures of A is all A major pentatonic. Now, for me, I'm playing it kind of off of this caged C shape. Some of you might recognize that as pentatonic pattern 4, but I really like seeing the chord shapes around my pentatonic scales. It seems to connect everything quite a bit better. But then when the measure of D comes up, we are no longer in A major pentatonic. John Lennon actually shifts to D major pentatonic. Let that sit in for a second. So A chord, an A major chord, A major pentatonic for the soloing ingredients, D major chord, D major pentatonic for the soloing ingredients. Let's see what he plays. He just goes straight up the D major pentatonic scale, starting with F sharp. Super simple idea, yet very effective. If anyone played Get Back at a bar and didn't play the solo like this, or at least one of the solos like this, they'd probably be booed off the stage, right? It's like, hey, play the solo the way it was recorded, right? So A major pentatonic, D chord coming up, D major pentatonic. Real nice and sweet and brief there. And then A chord again. Now we move over to something a little bit bluesier sounding. He goes into A minor pentatonic over the other A chord. So it's still an A scale matched with an A chord, but this time it switches from major to minor to give it a little more of a rock edge. Now, if you're the type of player that knows your all 5 of your pentatonic boxes really, really, really well, and you're able to solo and move up and down in that particular key that you're soloing in through all 5 of those shapes, this will probably strike you as weird, because if you're thinking, okay, well, I'm in the key of A major, and now all of my musical organization is based around A major, so you'll be singing A there, you'll be singing A there, A there, and A there, and so on and so forth. If you see this, which is not a part of A major pentatonic, it's a totally different shape, and then you go. Now, you might see that as A minor pentatonic, that might be something close related, but the part in D might seem kind of odd, and that can lead you down something of an odd direction if you're trying to justify what John Lennon is doing if you don't have a really firm grasp of the chords. It's much easier to justify what he's doing in that particular phrase by looking at the chord progression than it would be trying to justify why over an A major am I using this note, which is a D, which doesn't fit in the A major pentatonic, so I guess it could be A major scale. You'll be taking a lot more steps to get to the same amount of musical connection rather than just fewer steps by just looking at the chord progression. Let's do another one. Let's do The Wind Cries Mary by Jimi Hendrix. And I love this song. I've talked about this song and this solo on my channel before, but it really hits this concept home. So the first progression is F, E flat, B flat, A flat. So that would be 2 chords per measure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. We do that 3 times. And another time. And over all of that, over all 6 of those measures, he's utilizing F major pentatonic. Then the backing chord progression goes to a G chord, a G major, while they're in the key of F. So this is actually a non-diatonic chord. So how does Jimi Hendrix deal with this? What does he do? Well, he just moves and matches G major chord with G major pentatonic. And a lot of that is chord tones. The place that he ends up is actually a very tiny G major chord. And then the next chord that we go to is a B flat. So what does he do? He plays B flat chords over the B flat. And he kind of does this B flat 6, B flat sus thing. So we go from G to B flat. The next chord we go to is D flat. Now, this is, when I learned this solo about when I was like 16 or 17, this threw me for a big loop because I didn't understand it. I also didn't know the chord progression. There's some, linkage there. But this threw me for a loop because over the D flat, Jimi Hendrix plays a phrase in D flat minor pentatonic. Now, me, in my immature 16, 17-year-old musician guitar player brain, I was just thinking, okay, well, I know F major, we're kind of in F major for a lot of it. So maybe he's just going down a half step for whatever particular reason because he's Jimi Hendrix and he can. Before going back up to F major pentatonic. But it's really a lot less archaic than that. It really just comes down to the band playing this chord and you playing this scale. And these are really all pentatonic examples. I haven't gone anywhere past the pentatonic scale. That's a really good method for playing over changes. Major chord, major pentatonic scale. Minor chord, minor pentatonic scale. Or even major chord, minor pentatonic scale. Works as in this example here on the D flat. And then after that, we return to an F chord, and he goes back to F major pentatonic. And he finishes it up there. Let's do another one. Let's do Hotel California. First, taking a look at our measures and our chord progression. So let's start with just the first 4 measures here. We have a B minor, and then an F sharp 7, and then an A, and then an E. Okay, so it's 1 chord per measure, and that's our chord progression. So let's take a look at how Don Felder navigates this chord progression here. He starts in B minor pentatonic, and doing some big bends and some dramatic stuff there. And a lot of that too is actually chord tones. So that's F sharp, that's the 5th of B minor. That is A, the minor 7th of B minor, or B minor 7. B, the root, and he bends all the way up to D, the 3rd. So that's almost just perfectly spelling out a B minor 7 chord. And then he ends on E, the 4th degree, which is our first non-chord tone. That's all the stuff, almost all the stuff, over B minor. And then he finishes up with that little small phrase, da-da-da-da, which is, again, B minor pentatonic with a big emphasis on chord tones. The D, the 3rd, E, the 4th, non-chord tone, F sharp, the 5th, back to D, the 3rd, and then this ear bender of a note, which is an A sharp. Now, again, when learning this solo from a younger, less musically connected point of view, it's like, okay, what is that note doing in there? It's not in my typical minor pentatonic shape. Where is that A sharp coming from? And if we look at an F sharp 7, A sharp is in our F sharp dominant 7 chord. Now, you could also look at this and say, well, that's also coming out of the B harmonic minor scale. And that's true. But typically, harmonic minor sounds better when utilized in a solo over the 5 dominant chord in a minor key. If you just see it as using B harmonic minor, that can sort of lead you into a, well, if I'm just in a minor key, I could theoretically use harmonic minor whenever I want. And subjectively, yes, if it's your solo, you can do absolutely whatever you want. Don't let a guy like me stop you. But objectively speaking, playing the harmonic minor scale over a diatonic chord in B harmonic minor, which would be F sharp 7, is where that scale fits the best, and that's what Don Felder is doing in this solo. There is a reason why this solo is so iconic, and again, if you play this at a bar, you need to play this solo note for note. And one of the reasons why this solo sounds so good is because of how intimately connected it is with the rest of the song, i.e. the chord progression. So here we are on F sharp 7. Again, targeting that A sharp, the 3rd degree of our F sharp 7 chord. Now we go to A. And then all of that is just really B minor pentatonic. There's not a whole lot of A chord tones around there, but then check this out. When we play this phrase, we're bending up to another very important tone. So those 2 measures are A to E, E major. And Don Felder utilizes, again, the 3rd, because typically 3rds are like one of the most melodic notes that you can play over a given chord. He's targeting the 3rd of the E major chord. So G, and that G is scooped up to the 3rd degree of the E. Now again, that note doesn't exist in B minor pentatonic, and it also doesn't exist in the B natural minor scale. We have a G natural in there, so So the idea isn't really, okay, well, I can, swap scales and swap, those things out willy-nilly just whenever I want. Like, technically we could say that that's a part of the B Dorian scale. And I would do this all the time when I was, 16, 17-year-old Matt, trying to play the best and, slamming every single mode that I possibly could over any given chord progression that didn't make me sound any better. Don't do that. The way to properly utilize modes and properly utilize these non-diatonic notes is to match them with what is going on in the chord progression. More examples in this song as well. So for the next, let me clean up here. For the next chords in this song, so we had B minor, F sharp 7, A, E. We saw how Don Felder dealt with that. Then we go to G, and then D. And then over these two measures, I love what he does here again. We start life in kind of B minor pentatonic. This time he resolves down to the G, and this G is really, the way I look at it and I think of it, this is actually just coming out of the G major pentatonic scale. Again, it's the same concept. Major chord, major pentatonic scale. Works every time. So G major pentatonic over the G major chord, and then that would be D major pentatonic. Same thing as the B minor pentatonic, but D major pentatonic played over the D major chord. Now let's finish up this section of the solo. So our next two measures are E minor, and then our friend the F sharp dominant 7 chord. So the E minor, he actually plays a little bit of an E minor scale. Or if you want to look at it from a B minor perspective, it's the 4th degree E, and then F sharp, and then G. But really, he's targeting the 3rd, the E note, or the G note on the E minor chord. And then he plays a phrase that's coming out of the B minor pentatonic scale over the F sharp minor chord to kind of finish it up. But he ends on by bending the E note up to an F sharp note to bring it back to that F sharp dominant chord. And then the Joe Walsh solo comes up after that as well. So sometimes I wish it was just as simple as what key am I in and what scale can I play? But if it was that simple, there wouldn't be these amazing solos that we can look at and try to learn and really kind of see what's going on. When you look at chord progressions and you understand the measures and the chords and the phrasing behind the great solos that we love listening to, you can really understand a lot more what these amazing guitar players are doing. Now, if this seems like a lot and you don't have the music theory foundation to understand a lot about what I'm talking about here, that's okay. I've got a free gift for you called my Essential Music Theory Cheat Sheet that I would love to give you. It'll be in the description box below. Remember to download that at the end of this video. And if you really want to take your music knowledge to the next level, I just released my brand new course, Theory Logic, this week. This is a no-nonsense, make theory, make sense, fundamental music theory course that I really think that you're going to enjoy. I will link to that in the description below as well. Once again, my name is Matthew Dale. Thank you so much for watching this video. I am here to help you play better, sound great, and understand more, and I'll see you guys on the next one.